Hello, welcome to our NADP session today. My name is Jenny Scott. I'm the Strategic Project Manager here at Aspire. My background was in investment banking before I joined the world of higher education, where I spent 7 years at the University of Derby in various roles from project management through to student experience and more latterly working in student wellbeing, where I was the Assessment Centre Manager.
My name's Hollie and I'm the Mental Health and Wellbeing Lead for Aspire. I'm also a current PhD candidate studying positive psychology and have years of experience working within mental health fields with complex and enduring mental health conditions like schizophrenia and personality disorder.
The session today will outline the current picture of mental health and wellbeing in students. We're going to examine the impact of struggling on academic performance. We will look at the impact of transitioning from further education to higher education. And finally, we'll consider a range of possible solutions and provide insight into how best to support all of our student cohorts to enable them to thrive.
Pre-pandemic, in 2019, the Trendants UK survey found that 45.5% of students were concerned about their mental health. In a 2022 study, they found that 50% of surveyed students were experiencing anxiety at a higher level than the clinical threshold. The same study found that students had low levels of resilience and reduced ability to cope with distress. These difficulties translate far beyond university graduation, with the mental health of graduates being called a simmering pressure. During a meta-analysis in 2020, Hernandez-Terrano found that during university, students' psychological distress increases to clinically relevant levels, and while it decreases post-graduation, it does not return to normal levels seen before the commencement of university. The same paper found that over the last decade, mental health complaints in students and help seeking has increased significantly. The pandemic has put mental health at the forefront of everybody's conversations. It has made mental health as important as physical health for the first time. There's an increase in demand on mental health services, and it has become very apparent that we must prevent mental health conditions before they arise. So, what are we currently seeing within the research? We know that people feel their need was not as great as other people's, and this has deterred them from contacting mental health services for help. 49% said that they'd experienced a difficulty when accessing mental health services, and this has caused them to have a further decline in mental health. Only 13% of the UK report living with high levels of good mental health. Life satisfaction in students is generally lower than the general population, which causes an increase in drinking and smoking to potentially harmful levels. And trying to manage issues alone rather than seeking help will eventually lead to a climax of things becoming too difficult, which leads to poor academic performance and, in the worst cases, dropout. We also have seen an increase in self-harming behaviours, which can in turn lead to loneliness and isolation. What you will now see on your screen are some general academic references which really show us the impact of mental health crisis on academics and academic performance. So what is our role in crisis prevention? Here you will see the 3-tiered model of crisis prevention, which should inform all of our practice. Crisis prevention has many moving parts. Potentially the most important is to predict what people are going to find challenging. For students, it could be exam seasons, it could be changing COVID restrictions or loneliness. There's 3 layers of crisis prevention. The first layer, primary prevention, stopping issues before they arise, making people aware of their wellness tools, increasing awareness of mental health problems in all areas, the workplace, education, personal lives. Secondary prevention, supporting at-risk groups. According to a report published by Shout, these groups include non-binary gender texters, autism diagnosis texters, and those from the LGBTQ+ community. There's also anybody who has experienced previous trauma. Knowing these things allows us to put plans in place to support high-risk groups from developing further mental health problems or additional mental health problems to the ones they already have. And then finally, tertiary prevention, helping those with existing conditions to remain as symptom-free as possible by providing support and education, encouraging them to become aware of those wellness tools, and empowering them to prevent relapse. This model covers the spectrum we might see in our day-to-day. We help those with existing conditions, we encounter those at-risk groups, and we all remain at risk of a mental health condition ourselves. What we should all be aware of is that comorbidity of conditions. We might see dyslexia and anxiety. We might see a visual impairment and depression. We might see somebody developing schizophrenia alongside dyscalculia. Diagnosis can be a really powerful tool to inform our practices or support, but we should also remain aware of those who are struggling without a formal clinical diagnosis. Current research into student mental health shows us that 62% of people suffering from a mental health problem have received no support from their institution. In addition to this, 48% reported that they had been disciplined for behaviour relating to their mental health. There's instances of mental health problems within young people increasing, and UCAS reported a 450% increase over the last decade. It's also estimated that around 70,000 students each year enter a university without disclosing a mental health condition. On the screen now, you will see some data from our partners at Shout. Shout is a 24/7 confidential helpline designed to be accessed at the point of need by anybody requiring assistance, similar to the idea of the Samaritans, except Shout only provide their support via text, meaning that it's covert and confidential. Our partnership with Shout means that we have access to their data insights and we can use them to inform our practices. Organisations are often very aware of those who are struggling, but it's often those who haven't presented to services that are the most in need. As you can see here, the 18 to 24 age bracket is by far the largest, and 73% of all texts to Shout are depression and anxiety related. With this in mind, we believe that there is a need to promote the use of platforms which are professionally made, educational and supportive, and explain things in a really comprehensive and normalising way. Platforms like this eliminate the barriers created by the need to open up to tutors, the need to access wellbeing services, the need to make that terrifying first leap to get the help that is so richly needed in that moment. I now want to move on to discuss the idea of transition. Transition from school to college, college to university, university to the workplace. Anything that requires a change requires an element of successful transition. Even for the most neurotypical student, transitioning is a huge thing. When you add in any elements of any neurodiversity, the impact of a transition can be monumental. Change brings anxiety. There's a fear of the unknown, with many potentially unpredictable elements. There's pressure from friends, family, colleagues, teachers, and there could also be an internal pressure like perfectionism or self-doubt. So how can we successfully support transition? For me, the most important element of any transition is to prepare. Be open, talk about the change as early as possible. Try to avoid minimising the little things that students are concerned about. Manage expectations gently. Iron out any difficulties as soon as they arise. Encourage choice, encourage mistakes, encourage autonomy. Encourage early disclosure, openness, and try and get students to attend taster days to connect with wellbeing teams early. And with that in mind, we should think about how exactly we support the students who are going through this transition. Starting with the mental health continuum, which is being widely delivered now through mental health first aid, normalising the presence of bad days, low moods, and generally feeling overwhelmed. The model focuses less on a mental health diagnosis and symptoms and is more focused on ensuring that we ride the wave of emotions that comes natural to us as a human being.
The mental health continuum is a relatively new model which recognises that our mental health is a spectrum. The mental health continuum model doesn't focus on those with a diagnosis, and it can be applied to everybody. Having good mental health is more than just the absence of illness. It is having tools we can utilise to thrive and flourish. It is acknowledging the bad days alongside the good, and having skills to manage both. The highest level of the model is excelling. In this level, we are flourishing and achieving our full potential. This is followed by the thriving level. We are not totally free of troubles in this level, but we function normally and feel we have the necessary skills to survive troubles. Next is the surviving level. In this section, Action needs to be taken to prevent a small difficulty making us unwell. Sleep and appetite may be affected in this section, and we may feel on edge for no reason. With the correct techniques, relaxation, self-care, and good sleep hygiene, it can be easy to pull yourself out of this level. The level below this is struggling, low mood, low energy, and aspects of our lives suffer. At this point, we may need to seek psychological help, or let people around us know we are experiencing difficulties. The final level of this model is in crisis. If a person reaches this level, immediate intervention is required from a trained professional. People reaching this level of mental distress may not recognise it themselves, so may require additional care from their support networks. The most important thing to remember is that we all have bad days and good. Our moods can change from hour to hour. There is no shame in needing help.
Moving away from a diagnosis and providing a more holistic approach means that we can reach the potential undiagnosed mental health conditions. Research tells us a lot about the potentials of people struggling, but as noted earlier, the pandemic has left many people struggling with their mental health that have never struggled before. We need to ensure they are supported gently without overwhelming them with scary clinical terminology. Recently, I've written a paper about the potential dangers of focusing on areas of well-being like exercising and drinking water. There's been a sharp rise in well-being apps and platforms which focus on moving enough, drinking water, maintaining a healthy diet. While this is in conjunction with other things like journaling or mindfulness, it isn't good enough to create good mental health. If we make 10,000 steps every day the foundation of good mental health, we're forsaking those who struggle with physical activity. If we make a healthy, balanced diet the foundations of good mental health, we're forsaking those who struggle with their eating. If we make 8 hours of sleep the foundation of good mental health, we're forsaking those who struggle with insomnia or hypersomnia. There's a point when focusing on factors like exercise, diet and sleep becomes problematic. While they may work as wellness tools for healthy individuals, to measure well-being against these domains that are naturally affected by mental ill health puts those afflicted at a disadvantage. The world we live in now is diverse, and we cannot apply the same ideas to everybody. Equality, diversity and autonomy should be at the forefront of everybody's mind when providing a service. A holistic approach with the opportunity for choice is the best way to support students moving forward. We all experience bad days and good. We all have days where we need a little extra support. One size does not fit all. The diagnostic criteria for mental disorders may be the same, but the pervasiveness and presentation of each person's illness is individualised and personal to them. The best approach to improve mental wellness is to look at multiple domains, encompassing every area of the self. This is often seen in integrative therapy, and exercises on Aspire recorded by a psychotherapist reflect this, like the whole self pizza cutting exercise. Consider sleep, nutrition, physical activity, connectedness, self-esteem, body image, finances, work, education, organisation, alongside mental health, allows us to ensure optimum wellness is achieved. The most effective approaches to improving mental health are the ones that factor in multiple therapeutic interventions, as each therapy style has benefits we can all take on board. CBT is really proactive. Individuals have to put in work to feel better. DBT teaches us tolerance of distressing feelings. We're taught that negative feelings are bad, but they're not, they're a part of life. ACT teaches acceptance, let things be as they are, live in the moment. Compassion-focused therapy encourages compassion to both ourselves and others. And if we blend theories, well-being advice, somatic calming such as mindfulness, relaxation and meditation, we create this holistic approach to mental health care, which is more effective than considering singular treatment options. Generally, mental health care focuses on getting people back from rock bottom to a level of okay. Positive psychology, however, focuses on getting people from okay to thriving, living a meaningful life. Martin Seligman, the founding father of positive psychology, noted that as a discipline, psychology focuses on abnormality, mental health, trauma, and suffering. It's all the things people find interesting, but it's clearly focused on misery. The theories of positive psychology are what we would call life-giving rather than life-depleting. And there's a strong focus on gratitude, happiness, optimism, hope, flourishing, thriving, resilience, and growth mindset. Positive psychology is realistic yet positive in its approach. It increases subjective well-being and decreases depressive symptoms and increases emotional toughness and resilience.
Aspire has done a lot of work in the DSA sector over the last few years, supporting thousands of students through DSA, but also institutions with site licences. The platform was originally designed to bridge the gap between one-to-one support and the assistive technology that students have access to. But development over the last few years has focused on mental health, largely because of the data that's come out around the comorbidity of conditions. So we know, for example, that ASD students or dyslexic students might be recommended to Aspire for assistive technology or study skills. It's also highly likely they will also benefit from the mental wellness aspects of the site. Consequently, the mental health and wellbeing resources have no threshold for engagement, so they're suitable for anybody to use. Aspire provides support in 4 key areas: study skills, so anything for academic studies or organisation, reading and research, etc. Assistive technology, supporting with any software the student or institution might have, and mental health and wellbeing and career-related learning. Mental health and wellbeing offers a plethora of resources from condition management, identifying stress and stressors, self-help tools, positive psychology, wellbeing advice and staying well, developing your own unique support skills, self-esteem and things like debunking the myths around accessing counselling. While career-related learning section discusses the benefits of disclosure, accessing support services and other support with getting into work, so things like access to work. All of these things support students as they progress from education and on into the workplace.
So to finalise what we do to create a supportive environment in which students can thrive, one size does not fit all. Keep things individualistic. What works one time might not work another. Promote choice, autonomy and independence. Focus on what data insights and current issues tell us. Share your knowledge with other professionals, research, be informed, get research papers. Use evidence-based practices to give students a choice of what works for them. Get feedback to ensure your service gives students exactly what they need to do well. And how exactly does all this promote thriving? It's supportive, educational, and normalising. It works for those with a diagnosis and those without. It's a safe place for students to explore concerns or difficulties, and it removes the stigma, shame, embarrassment, and confusion of, having to access support.
So what is the key to successful transition? For us, it's providing students with the tools to handle the unknown, and where possible, let them know where they can access these tools before they even need them. It's about making both diagnosed and undiagnosed students aware of the support systems available to them, ensuring that they feel supported through every stage of their transition process. It's about being individualistic in the approach to every single student that we see within wellbeing. It's about providing resources to enhance independence, empower students to develop their knowledge of what will help their individual circumstances.
So that brings us to the end of our session today. I would like to thank you all for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful.
Thanks, Holly, and thanks for your time today. If you'd like to find out more about the work we do to support students through DSA and through institutional site licences, do use the QR code on this page that will take you to our NADP page, where you can enter our prize draw, book onto a demonstration session and request to be kept up to date with all our latest information and research. Thanks for your time and have a great day.